I'm resident of Colwood for YouTube. Joel Sage, joined by my buddy Mark Gillman and my buddy Daniel Culver. We're here to discuss Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Not really. But so let me ask you guys a really strange question, because we're going to get the Book of the Dead in this movie. How much does Jason act like a Deadite in this movie specifically? Daniel?
I'd say more than, obviously more than in past movies. Well, that's how I feel. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah. Mark?
Very much. Very, very much so. Just not as like talkative as the ones that we're used to seeing in Evil Dead, but I think very much like one. But in some ways, he took some strange and weird to a whole new level in this movie.
Yeah, if you go back to the original Friday the 13th, you could always make the debate that Jason was like getting into his mother's head, maybe not, whether it's literally or figuratively. I think from a Deadite standpoint, he's not the same Deadites we're used to seeing, where they're all talkative and they're taunting, their victims. This Deadite is more like I guess I'd view him more like a Frankenstein Deadite, to where he's not talking to the point of, he's more grunting and groaning than anything else. But then there's weird things he does, like he shaves the guy naked, and I'm just like, I mean, I could see a Deadite doing it for the hell of it, for the fun of it, which is really interesting. It's really interesting that they, again, because we don't hear about the Book of the Dead in previous installments, and we're going to get the Book of the Dead inside the Voorhees house. Now, I don't think that that's just because we get a news anchor who plants things in the house. I literally think the Book of the Dead was always in the house. Duke, I'll get into Duke with you, but what did you guys think of the we're sort of somewhat getting an Evil Dead Friday the 13th. I don't know whether to call it a crossover or not, but it sort of is.
Well, I personally liked it. Like, I thought it was really cool to see, the Evil Dead version of the Necronomicon on, in this movie, and in a Friday the 13th movie in general. And for those that don't know, why I'm saying the Evil Dead version is, for those that don't know, the Necronomicon was originally made by an author named H.P. Lovecraft, but the Evil Dead borrowed that,
Right.
Mark, what did you think?
Okay, say the question one more time.
Oh, sorry. What did you think of the Book of the Dead? Or it's sort of an Evil Dead and Friday the 13th crossover. What did you think of that and the Book of the Dead being in the Voorhees house?
I guess I never really thought of it that way, but since you brought it up, it made, like, since we started talking, it makes so much more sense. I can definitely see what they were going for. I never thought of Jason as one of the Deadites. I should have made the connection, but I didn't.
Well, Jason, the biggest question comes when you go back to the original. The question is, did Jason die? Now, again, I have no idea what they're going to do with the Crystal Lake series at all. And my suggestion would be, don't completely answer this. Leave them. Now, if you do, you have an opportunity to sort of not copy Halloween at all and do any, because that's the biggest difference. Michael never actually dies in any of the movies. He gets written, sort of put into a comatose state when he catches on fire, or he gets, or he just, falls asleep for a year, whatever you want to say. With Jason literally died in the final chapter. which wasn't the final chapter, obviously. But and then he gets
Yeah.
brought back and Jason lives. So Jason literally, his body gets reanimated, so to speak. And it's like, okay, is this the first time Jason got brought back from the dead? And there's that question of, okay, who read from the book of the dead? Because what do you, we've seen what happens when a recording is played. When a recording is played, like in Evil Dead, a recording is played that somebody read from the book of the dead. Okay, but we've never actually, until the series, until what was it, Army of Darkness, Ash has to read from the book. So we get that once in the entire Evil Dead franchise from that point, until that point. And then you have this where you just see the book, you don't know who read from it. So here's my question. Who do you think read from the book to sort of bring Jason back to life?
Like, that's actually a good question, but I think I could be wrong, and feel free to correct me if I am, but I think Adam Marcus actually said that Pamela read from it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's who I was. What seemed to make the most sense that Pamela would maybe read from it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. My thing of it is, what did Pamela give up to read from it?
Oh, you
Because
know what? Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
no, that's sort of my question, because with Pamela reading from it, we always see, like, look, when the book is read from, people end up dying. Okay, so what if Pamela's goal is to not necessarily read from it to cause death and destruction? If she had a proper understanding, I know I'm getting into technicality here, so I apologize. But if she had a proper understanding of the Necronomicon, which she may have, I don't know. Okay, if she found a loophole where, okay, all I have to do is sacrifice this to get my kid back, what did she sacrifice?
I was just thinking. Okay. Oh man, sorry.
No, what did she give up is what I'm asking.
Oh, actually, yeah, I know I kept interrupting you. I'm sorry about that, but
No, that's all right.
one theory I have is, we never see Jason's dad. Like we never see him in any movie. So maybe that's what she sacrificed. Maybe that's why we never see Jason's dad, because his dad was the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Could be. That's a good guess.
Thanks.
Didn't you bring up before that the one guy who found the book had a partner? You brought that up before, I think, when we did a video together, just me and you.
Oh, I don't remember. Sorry about that.
It's all right. I think so, but I could be wrong, so I won't totally quote it. But if Jason's dad helped either find the Necronomicon or was a sacrificial lamb, it would make sense that Daniel has a point. We don't see him throughout the series. He's mentioned very briefly. So maybe that's why he could write. Maybe that's why we don't see him. Maybe Pamela's sacrifice was her husband. Who's to say? We don't know what Pamela was into other than she read from the Book of the Dead, which that speaks volumes about that woman's insanity.
Right.
If the murders weren't any indication, this definitely is.
Yeah. And we both, I mean, like all of us know that more often than not, the death of a child puts a strain on a relationship and a marriage. So it would make sense. I'm sure that they probably grew apart, and as she was, she couldn't let go. He was, probably pulling away from her. And so it would make sense that she would, and I'm just trying to connect the dots in my head, that she would feel definitely a lot of bitterness towards him. So that makes sense that she could logically pick him to be the sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think that she picked her husband to just, oh, you go into that world and I'll have Jason. Um, we know that it takes the Voorhees for Jason to be reborn in this movie when he loses his body. That the bodies he's in are just pieces of meat. He's using them, but it also takes a Voorhees to kill him. So now we know that with a dagger, I believe it is, if a Voorhees stabs him in the heart, I didn't think Jason had one, but in this he clearly does, which I find interesting. That he will die, he will go to hell. He's not going to stay there after this movie, which is fun. But so this movie here, guys, what did you think of all the body jumping for our buddy Jason here?
Oh, I actually thought it was a pretty unique idea. Now, it is kind of weird storyline wise because we never really see him do this, but I really thought it was an interesting concept.
Mark?
Uh it's okay for me. I mean, I totally agree with Daniel. It was cool to see a unique take on it.
Yeah.
To me, this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, this was just my takeaway from it because I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. Um, to me, this felt like a Rob Zombie's Halloween version of Jason, where it's like you take part of it and you make the story your own. To me, it almost felt like a retelling of Jason's story, that there was something evil and it took the boy, who ended up drowning at Crystal Lake. But to me, it seemed to kind of rewrite it a little bit. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it just, the fact of him body jumping before, it just kind of made me wonder why he didn't do it before. So it definitely made him more of a supernatural being than we had seen before, where he was just a psychopathic killer and more of like an instinctive hunter. Um, it made him definitely more of a supernatural kind of force to be dealt with.
I have a theory that just came into my head, but I'll let Daniel go first.
Oh, what was the question?
Mark, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, um, did this feel like a kind of a rewrite of Jason's backstory
Oh,
to you
sorry.
all?
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. I could actually see that point. That's one bad thing about the whole Pamela reading from the Necronomicon, because it's like, wait, when did that happen? And I kind of see your point too, because they kind of added the family thing, and Jason, other than his mom, they never really talked about his family having to kill him or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was funny that they mentioned the family thing after they said we just went by the Myers place, was when they mentioned the family connection with it.
Oh yeah, it's true.
I was like, I see what you did there.
It's Here's my theory on Jason Goes to Hell, and this is a pretty messed up theory.
Okay.
Nothing after the final chapter. None of the Friday the 13th actually happened. It's all it's Jason dreaming why he's dead, and then we get Jason versus Freddy. Remember where does Jason come when he wakes up? Out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
In Jason versus Freddy. Now I know he doesn't come out of the cemetery, so that you'd have to explain to me there too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my only real explanation that it explains the rest of the franchise. That everything we see is just Jason dreaming about killing people. Tommy is made up. Tommy's family is made up. I mean, it's a hell of, again. I'll admit to my own wrong here. It probably is way fucking wrong. But that's the only thing I take away when I look at post the final chapter. When I look at the new beginning, when I look at, Jason Lives, when I look at part 7, and especially when you look at, as much as I love it, Jason Takes Manhattan in the ending. Then you have Jason Goes to Hell, and they're rewriting the entire Jason backstory. Now, to be fair to the writers, to Adam Marcus and them, you could just make the debate, well, just because we don't hear Jason has other family members doesn't mean he doesn't. I mean, look,
Right.
we don't, for Halloween, we don't hear that the Strodes have other relatives until Halloween 6. That, so,
True.
I mean, you don't always hear about characters in movies, other characters that exist in movies, because let's be honest, 2 hours is not a lot of time for development and mentioning other characters who may or may not exist. I mean, you could just see, you and I, Mark, and Daniel's starting to get this way too. We're all spoiled by Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Dark Shadows, if a character wasn't ever in an episode, they would mention the character. So what they would do is they're slipping the jab of a character's name to keep the character relevant. Now, are there characters who don't get mentioned in DS? Yes. I'll give one of our favorites. Angelique doesn't get mentioned going into 1795 at all. Now, there's the Laugh in the Mausoleum, and you could say that's Angelique, and it is, in my view. But so they're not saying the character by name, but the writers are hinting, hey, there's more going on with this whole Barnabas storyline than you think.
Yeah.
So, which is genius. The horror writers, if you're going to have characters down the line, or there's characters you think you may want to introduce down the line, you don't have to call them by their last name. Just mention their first name and say who they're related to. That way you're slipping the jab of, now to be fair, not all, that's the thing too. It's not like they rehired the same writer for every Friday the 13th either. It's the same thing for Halloween. 4, 5, and 6 had all different writers. 7 had a different writer. Resurrection had a different writer. The only, the first 3, 1, 2, and 3, John Carpenter wrote, and Deborah Hill, and the guy who directed part 3. But sorry,
Tommy Lee Wallace.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Wallace. Sorry, I blanked on the name. But apologies. But
No, you're good, dude.
For this, because again, Adam Marcus has to tie in all the insanity of 8 movies. Okay, how do I do that? If I'm Adam Marcus, I probably would have went this route too, because hey, the Book of the Dead has a lot of powers. Now, when would Pamela have had possession of the Book of the Dead? Daniel's point of Mr. Voorhees there, of Elias Voorhees being sacrificed, I think Elias Voorhees may have helped find the Necronomicons, but he did not want to use them. He just wanted to give them to a museum, and he told Pamela how to use them in hope, even though he hoped she wouldn't. Maybe they both helped find them. Who knows? That's something we'll never get explained. There's not a full, we can sit here and say, Adam Marcus, I don't disagree with him. He wrote it, that Pamela found it, and that Pamela read from it. But I do think she wasn't alone in that fact. But she probably found it about, let's see, Jason drowns in the 50s. She probably found the book, let's say, 59, 60, give or take, who knows. And again, there's more than one book though too. So there's that. I really think what you're swinging for here is a triple threat crossover of Nightmare on Elm Street, Evil Dead, and Friday the 13th. Who's at the end of this movie? Freddy's glove, though it's not Robert Englund doing it. It's Kane Hodder. God bless him. Um, but that's what they're shooting for. I don't blame them. This movie like is an enjoyable trip and a half. I mean, it's full of fun shit that you can just go back and watch. You go, holy shit, they did this, this, and this. The body jumping, I don't mind, but again, just from a theory standpoint, my only logical explanation is, again, from the final after the final chapter, nothing happened. It was just Jason dreaming. Because Freddy's line is interesting. I searched the bowels of hell for a person who couldn't be killed. Well, when you reanimate a corpse, if could Freddy have the power to reanimate a corpse? He has the power to wake somebody from their dream and control their dreams. So maybe, just maybe, it was Freddy who reanimated Jason's corpse all along. Um, because Freddy's line too is, it's time to put this big dog to sleep for good. Because he woke him. Well, Pamela were okay to give Betsy Palmer some credit. But go ahead, guys. I'm on a tangent.
No, you're fine, man. I'm enjoying listening.
Yeah, me too. I was enjoying it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you guys think of? I enjoyed the body hopping as much as they changed some things here. I think it's really outside the box thinking, and it's smart to do. Though I won't include my theory a second time, but the fact that they used the Book of the Dead made sense. To make Jason a Deadite in this movie made sense. That Jason's been a Deadite for a long time somewhat makes sense because Jason, let's look at the characters who have come and gone. Okay. Pamela, you could make the case maybe Jason was controlling her. Everybody who's had the story of Jason, the legend of Jason persists in two. Everybody he has an encounter with keeps having these weird encounters with him. Again, I won't get too heavily into three because I think there's more going on in three than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
With Chris's dad, I won't get too into that again because I don't want to bring up the R word. And with final chapter, I think is the last we see of normal Jason. Five, but look at five where, because we had a kid kill Jason, he still thinks about killing Jason because Jason killed his mother. Tommy Jarvis is the first one to understand Pamela's pain since Jason, and Jason caused Tommy's pain. So it makes sense that Tommy keeps seeing Jason from beyond the grave until a copycat Jason shows up, and then this causes Tommy to lose his shit, and we see Tommy, like freaking stab Jason in the grave, and then Jason gets brought back. From then on, again, seven's really good despite the beginning and the end. I think that eight's end really messed things up for the franchise in a way.
Yeah.
Because there's I love Jason Takes Manhattan as an entertaining movie, but its end, they needed to have a better explanation than that. Like, okay, despite us all not liking the dad coming out of the water, it does make sense that she would summon her dad.
That's true.
Though, you know what I mean? I don't like it because, again, he's an asshole. We all don't like it. He's an asshole. Okay, Jason lives. Tommy puts Jason back in the lake. That made sense. Part 5, it's not Jason. Part 4, we all know what happens. Tommy. 3's really, really good with Chris braining him with the axe at the end. 2 is really crazy too, but I love, where he jumps to the window as it flashes white. Where's Paul? Where's Paul? He's all right.
Right.
I'm sure he is. And then obviously the first one where Mrs. Voorhees gets beheaded, but that's Mrs. Voorhees. Jason jumps out the lake, but it's not really Jason because Jason would have been a grown man in 1980. So, but we learned that there was no boy at the bottom of the lake. So we know
Right.
Jason was not at the bottom of the lake. He didn't drown. We learned that by the end of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to this movie, it goes, okay, if Butch, I'm going to give a shout out to Butch Rosenbaum. And if he's listening to this, Butch, buddy, you need to stay up late. You need to cheat on a school night, dude. No. But he said something I won't forget for the original Friday the 13th. He goes, there are many different, there's different definitions to drowned. When you can drown and still be resuscitated back to life, which is true. You could be not breathing at all and be thought of dead and then get resuscitated, or just be dead and then then boom, you're until you actually are pronounced dead on arrival and they can't resuscitate you, then you're dead. So there's two different ways of the whole drowning incident. Now, did Jason actually drown? Who the hell? No, that's the thing. Nobody has a clear-cut answer. According to Pamela, he drowned. How does Pamela know her son drowned? We don't. That's something too that's never really answered. Pamela says her son drowned. Okay, if you saw your son shouting for help in the water, I'd like to think you'd go in. I know I the fuck would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't think she saw her son drown. I think when she couldn't find her son, she assumed he drowned. And again, that's just a theory. It's not I'm saying it's correct one. The Friday the 13th franchise is interesting, but I think when you go back to Jason Takes Manhattan, the ending really, the only thing I can get away with is, like I pointed out with Jason Takes It, maybe that's a dream too. But even so, again, that's not mentioned. You made a point about the ship mark where it sort of looks like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is, who knows.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy Jason Goes to Hell more than the end. I more enjoyed this movie as a whole than I do Jason Takes Manhattan, because this actually has a proper ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, until Jason X. But with this, they really do a good job of trying to explain their story. And I think that's what's most important. That this story is pure entertainment and fun. You get Jason's body that's more destroyed than as destroyed as Collinwood in 1995. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Daniel, when you get there, you will appreciate that reference, my friend. I promise you.
Like the coroner said, he's deader than Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. And what did you guys think of Duke Mantee in this movie?
Oh, I thought he was awesome. And actually, this might sound weird, but when I first watched it, I thought it was possible that he was Reggie. I mean, how Tommy became a doll. I thought maybe they did it again with Reggie, and that's why he wanted revenge because of what happened to him. But obviously that turned out to not be true.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah. What did you think
Talking about Creighton Duke?
Yeah, Creighton Duke.
I wanted to like him. I don't know. I guess I just didn't really. I guess watching it this time, I didn't really get him much other than, I mean, I guess he was the guy that was telling how the story was kind of being rewritten a little bit, but I don't know. I wanted to like him more. I like the actor, but I wanted to like the character a little more, but I really struggled liking his character.
I watched the original 21 Jump Street well prior to the Jason Goes to Hell. And a lot of people who did popped when this guy was in the movie. I mean, they were excited to see him in this movie. And, he's a hell of an actor.
Yeah, he is.
Duke Mantee is an interesting character. Here's this bounty hunter who, yes, does things for money, but he also does them at his own risk. He will risk his life. Look, there are many, many characters. There's always what it takes. It doesn't always take a hero to defeat a villain. Sometimes it takes a different kind of evil. Now, Duke Mantee is not evil. That's the issue. Duke Mantee is a badass. Now, if it were the Shadow, that would be evil. But this is Duke Mantee. I really like Creighton Duke. I think he's one of the most interesting short-lived characters. Unfortunately, he gets killed off in Jason Goes to Hell. But it would be nice to see a good story told about the character himself. He's very interesting as a character. The actor did a hell of a job. The writers did a hell of a job writing the character, Adam Marcus. And I think the way he's presented, he's very swaggerish. And, every time I think about a bounty hunter in Red Dead Redemption 2, I think about Duke Mantee.
Nice.
It's like the guy smoking a cigar, looking for your ass, like Jesus. But knowing your history and shit, and it's just like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me. But unlike Duke Mantee, I'm fast on the draw. So with this, I think the fact that he's the character, you're right, Mark, who gets chose to explain everything for the biggest part of the movie. That's where he's most valuable, because he's 1000% believable. Just to explain the story in the jail cell. Now, you see, that's a very high price, and I'm not sure you're willing to pay it, is a hell of a line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Breaking his finger. Dick, can you break my finger? I have carpal tunnel. It'll be okay. But just do it. But yeah, interesting character, really just fascinating. And really the decision to, before they kill him off, to have him go to Pamela's sister, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, you're not expecting him to be at that restaurant. And when he is, he just tells the sheriff off, like, I could show her what a real man is. To a cop. It's like we needed, see, Halloween needed a character like that with some of the cops. Now, especially with the cops, and if you see the producer's cut of Halloween 6, but with this, I just think he's really interesting and really fascinating. And what did you guys think of the news anchor in this movie?
I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he didn't make a lot of impression on me, but it was all right, I guess. But I did like like you were going back to the exchange in the restaurant with her. He kind of reminded me of I don't know if you guys are fans of Rocky, but of Rocky 3, Clubber Lang, Mr. T. So yeah, he he kind of reminded me. He gave off some Clever Lang vibes to me.
He does too. That's
Yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
like. Hey, Mrs. Valbo, I'll show you what a real man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, oh my god, bro. Oh god, Mr. T, what an actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. I do think with the news anchor, he was a scumbag, bro.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like the fact, I like the fact when he runs when he gets run over, and the one guy who's the father of the child is saving his ex-girlfriend. He's like, you know how I just ran over that guy? Yeah, he's not dead.
Right.
Like, hey, bro, if you're gonna stop the car and tell her this, just keep driving.
Right.
There's no
Right.
need to stop the car, bro. Go to where the kid is.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But hell of a, I like how we get the Emmy who eats Jason's heart. That was really interesting. What did you guys think of that?
Oh man, that was that was actually weird. How he ate his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely took me by surprise because I just kind of um, was wondering, like, what was he doing? I mean, like, what was he gonna do? And just for him to pick it up and start eating it, I was like,
Well, if you listen,
like that. And I was like, oh wow.
if you listen to the heartbeat as it's beating faster and faster, it's almost like it's saying "eat me."
Yeah, true, true.
It's like the guy's bringing the pizza. I'm like, well, that Emmy doesn't need it now. But yeah. I like how when he's walking out, he goes, that Jason, the one guy said about Jason being a big pussy. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, Kane Hodder, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was kidding.
Yeah.
And then they have one security guard dead and the other, but they're both dead and shit. Like,
Mhm.
God, Cade's a trash talker, bro. Good for
Oh
him, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, the haircut threw me because I'm used to seeing him with that short hair. So seeing him with a full head of hair like that kind of threw me a little bit. I was like, oh, that is right. That's Kane.
shit. Where do you guys rank Kane Hodder on your Jason list? Is he number one?
Um, I would say he's either number one or if not number one, he's very high on the list.
Yeah,
For me, I would say a tie for second place.
yeah,
I really like the guy that was Jason in part 3. I can't
yeah.
remember his name, and we haven't gotten there yet. But my favorite Jason is the one from the 2009 Killer Cut, Derek Mears.
Yeah, he did a good job as
Yeah,
Jason.
he did.
By the way, he played a hell of a Swamp Thing too. And by the
Mhm.
way, if anybody from DC or Warner Brothers is watching this, fuck you, for canceling the series. From the bottom of my heart to all of you who work there,
Yeah.
but they're idiots, um, and they wonder why Henry Cavill left Superman. Thank the fine folks at DC and Warner Bros.
Yes.
Thank those fine folks
Yeah.
properly. Kane Hodder, I'll tell you where Kane Hodder won me over as number one because they're bringing in a new Jason in part 7. CJ Graham did a really good job with Jason Lives. He's number 2 on my list.
Yeah. He was
I
great.
I really like him as Jason, just a presence of a man, and the fact that he got to throw knives was cool. But the reason Kane's number one is part 7. The fact that they take the mask off and he has to sell it again. He's underneath makeup, and he has to sell this effect, and he does. I think from an acting standpoint, that's a hell of a job. Um, and I can see why Kane Hodder, you know, stayed on as Jason because he could act. It wasn't just he could do stunts; he could actually fucking act. And
Yeah.
it's always nice to get a stunt man who just isn't a stunt figure, who actually can act. I mean, um, the guy who was the Thing in the original Thing, he went on to do James Arness. You know, was originally a stuntman. He was the original Thing in the first Thing, and then he went on to do Gunsmoke. Thank God, he got to act, and really he. It's funny how Gunsmoke originally wanted John Wayne, and John Wayne said, "Well, there's this guy I know who'd be great for this part," you know, and he recommended James Arness. Um, great actor who got a stuntman who got to be a great actor, James Arness, because Marshall Dillon is one of the most memorable Western characters. He's not as memorable as Paladin from Have Gun Will Travel, but he's memorable. By the way, if you've ever seen that, that's a Western Batman. If you ever want to see Western version of Batman, Have Gun Will Travel is your show.
Nice.
So, but with this movie here, I think Kane Hodder delivers a hell of a performance. It's easy why it's again does a really good job being Jason for as little as he gets to be Jason in this movie. Really, it's not hard to see why they brought him back for Jason X. You know, Jason in space, whatever you want to call it. I saw Jason X in theaters, by the way. A little side story there. But,
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait till we get to that one.
It was like the bad TV. Like, bro, every time I'm going to the theater, I'm thinking about the bad TV skit. It was funny, but so there's in this movie, I really enjoyed how methodical the clone Jasons were and how very Jason-esque they were. You could sort of picture Jason in each of them. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of each actor who got to sort of be Jason. That you can sort of picture Jason in each of them and how they walked and how they acted. Not just the grunts, but the walking motion and the physical work they had to endure. Really good storytelling by those characters who got to portray Jason without the mask and the makeup and all that.
And speaking of makeup, when he body jumps, we get to see a very, very good shot of what happens when he leaves the body. Mm-hmm. And I thought that one guy just melting was pretty incredible. That was a really good special effects display.
Yeah. What did you think of that, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of? Because we don't know that it doesn't matter whether a Voorhees is alive or not to bring Jason back to life. What did you think of that little loophole there? Oh my God.
That was just, I'll just say it was disturbing. That's all I can say. It was disturbing.
Daniel, what did you think?
What was the question again?
Oh, sorry. We learned that Jason, it takes through a Voorhees he may be reborn, and through a Voorhees he may die. So, but we also find out later that it doesn't take a living Voorhees for him to be reborn, and that's what he uses. He uses Jason's the dead body of his late mother's sister, if I said that correctly, to come back to life. She's in the house because the reporter brought the body there. Sick son of a bitch.
Yes.
And the thing crawls up the skirt and and Jason is reborn. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I actually agree with Mark. It was, I would say, yeah, it was, what he said, disturbing. I think that's a good word for that. But I will definitely say was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to see him crawl up as like a slug and like get sucked up in there like a Hoover, and then come out Kane Hodder. That's the best stuff that somebody came up with.
Who would be, what would be fun, like if they can't do it now, but would it be fun is to somebody like narrate the movie. What would be funny is if Jonathan Fred were alive and you could have him narrate that whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that was missing. I was thinking, like you can turn on closed captions, but there's also a thing for visually impaired people where they describe what's happening. I was like, I wish I could have heard, a description of this part. I was like, can you imagine?
Or better, bro, John Carlin would have been.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Anybody from Dark Shadows, really, but
And I think too, the fact that it was Erin Gray, the
yeah,
actress that played the waitress, Erin Gray was like absolutely gorgeous, absolutely
yeah.
gorgeous. And I knew her from Buck Rogers and some other series. And I guess, I mean, I didn't think that would happen and I think she didn't know either, that was going to happen until she watched the film when it was finished. Um, yeah, I didn't expect something like that to happen to Erin Gray's corpse.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like, I sort of wondered, well, how are they gonna? When I first watched this, I'm like, how are they gonna reanimate Jason here with one of the Voorheeses? They just killed off the woman. Are they really gonna use the kid? Are they gonna use the one guy's ex girlfriend? What are they gonna do here? And no, bro, they used the corpse.
Yeah, and see, I kept thinking they were going to do the kid because that woman was terrible, just leaving the kid in a banana box in the diner, and just leaving him there overnight. And so I thought Jason was going to get to the kid and somehow like body jump into the kid. So yeah.
you, you know who was again? He's passed on, but you know who would have been really good for narration of this movie? Don Knotts.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. True. True. And I was also, speaking of the diner, I was also surprised to see young Leslie Jordan in this movie.
Yeah.
And that was a nice surprise seeing Leslie Jordan. I thought that was great.
Well, you know who they could get? He's actually still alive. Bruce Campbell. Like and they could go with the Evil Dead thing. Like he'd be like, that wasn't groovy.
Yeah.
There
True.
you go. There you go. Oh,
He's like, that's just nasty.
or bro, either him or Robert Englund, you could have narrate this movie. Yeah, I told Jason to do that shit.
Yeah.
My God. Oh shit. No, but I think that again, they had to. Yeah, I was. Here's my thing, because at the end of this movie, it looks like they forget about the baby. The one guy has a broken arm,
Yeah.
and I don't think they walk away with the kid. Like, because the girl has her one arm around the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think she has the baby in the other arm. So they
Yeah.
could have. I think they forget about the baby by the end of this movie, which is funny because the baby was part of the plot.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that was something that somebody forgot to go back to. But did you guys watch have you all seen the unrated version?
Actually, that's the one I usually watch.
Okay, I've only got I don't have this on DVD, so I watched a copy from, I bought it from Vudu, and it was only, the theatrical version. And that was something that I was wondering if maybe they added in something about the baby in the unrated version.
Daniel, do they? I actually never watched the unrated version myself either.
Not that I remember.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to watch that again.
Yeah. So
So you never seen the unrated one either, Joel?
I have the DVD. I've never watched the unrated version of it.
Oh, I don't know if it's on the DVD you have, but the one I have has both as an option.
Does it?
Oh, okay. Cool.
Is it part of the box set?
Oh no, I have that. I actually have a set that comes with Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Nice. Very nice.
Cool. I think Scream Factory did a special release of Jason Goes to Hell, and it had both versions on that one. So I'm going to have to look for that one.
Yeah, I've never seen the unrated version of Jason Goes to Hell, though I think I might need to now.
Yeah.
To see if the kid gets at because that's what's every time I watch the theatrical version, I'm like, where's the kid? They're walking away like Jason's dead. Like, where's the kid? Holy shit, they are bad parents. They forgot about the fucking kid.
Right.
Maybe they're friends with the parents from Rugrats.
True. Very true.
What did you guys think of the let me see here. What did you guys think of the final conclusion of this movie?
Oh, I actually liked it. I actually liked it. I thought it was cool how they kind of wrapped up, and it would have been a good ending, but you know how that goes. Well, I mean, good ending for the franchise, but like I said, you know how that goes.
Mark,
I thought this was actually the best death of Jason. I mean, it was different, but I thought it was definitely one of the best. And I mean, it's my personal favorite of Jason's death scene. It kind of reminded me a lot of which one was it? Nightmare 4, I think, or it might have been 3, where the hands. I think it was 3, where the hands kind of rip him apart, and like you see all these hands and things that go to drag him down, and drag him down underneath the ground. And I thought that was a really cool ending for Jason. And when you compare it with the ending to Part 8, it's like, Tommy Wiseau's The Room against Citizen Kane. There's no comparison there.
No, there isn't. It just. What did you think about the final conclusion of this movie, Daniel?
I actually agree. Like, I think this. I mean, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and actually, Jason's death, I would say, is my favorite death scene as well. Like I said, this could have easily been the end of the franchise, but they of course needed some to make more money on the Jason bandwagon.
So, with this conclusion of this movie, I'll say this: that the way they shoot this to the way it's executed is really good. I love how she comes over him and stabs him. It is really the best looking death scene in the Friday the 13th series from a Jason standpoint. That they kill him off. You guys are right. I agree. And then there's they don't walk away with the kid in the end. That's all I'm gonna say. But we see the ground then we see the mask of Jason. Then we see Freddy's hand come out and grab it, and we hear the laugh. We hear a laugh. It's Kane Hodder, obviously, but we're setting up for Freddy versus Jason. Hell of an ending to a movie. We're gonna get before we get Freddy versus Jason. We're gonna get Jason X, and that's our movie next week. We're gonna talk about. Any thoughts about Jason Goes to Hell, guys? Before we get on out of here.
Not that I can think of.
I'll just say that I thought that this. You could tell the people at New Line, because this was the first one that was made with New Line. You could tell they had a bigger budget than Paramount would give. The look of the movie, and it was a more cohesive story. It made more sense. I still prefer, like, if you compared Jason Takes Manhattan and this one, I still prefer Jason Takes Manhattan to this one. But I'll say that this one made a lot more sense and was a lot better put together than that one. So, I mean, I'm going to give the credit where the credit's due. And, I really enjoyed some of the cast in this movie as opposed to, Jason Takes Manhattan. I, like you were talking about last week, we didn't really need Remy. They just kind of felt unnecessary. But these characters felt definitely more necessary.
I don't think you need Remy with the crazy backstory that makes no sense.
Right.
Because that's the thing. With Jason Takes Manhattan, I don't have an issue with somebody having. Why not just write a story where a girl was afraid of the water? So she's boarding the boat to face her fear of the water. Again, great example. Sheriff Brody from Jaws was afraid of the water. He had a fear of not a fear of sharks, a fear of water. But he'd much rather face his fear of water and face that great white shark than to go back to the violence of New York City. Because there's a scene in Jaws where after the sheriff's kid almost gets eaten by the fucking shark, where now the mouth was supposed to open, by the way, but it didn't. The shark had issues working in the original.
Right.
So the kid is in a hospital, and he goes, "Take them home," and she goes, "Home back to New York."
Right.
He's like, "No, home here. This is, it's like, I'm just like, damn, dude, you'd rather fight that fucking thing. Like that, bro, that says it all about Sheriff Brody right there, because it's like, you'd rather fight a great white shark. You'd rather go head on in with a great white than go back to New York City. That's amazing. But with this, I think that if you would have had a character with Remy, if you would have had a character just be afraid of the water and not have an interact, I think it has still been interesting. Again, as far as the end, again, you could go the whole dream thing if you wanted to. That end is just, I asked my wife, when's the last time you watched Jason Takes Manhattan? She goes, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And I showed it to her again. She's like, that ending is just insane. And it really is, like, because it's just like, holy shit, like Jason melts away to a boy. Like, it doesn't, there's parts of this, and this is why I say about a dream, because there's parts of this movie just don't feel fucking real. Or not this movie, but Jason Takes Manhattan. That just don't feel real. I'm not meaning from a sense of storytelling, but from an actual literal sense. There's just parts of this movie that just feel like something doesn't feel real. Okay, the ship's captain, them not being aware of missing people until it's too late is pretty, bro. On a boat, no, you'd be pretty aware right away. Unless it's like one person. Like usually when when one person goes missing overboard, that's hard to tell because you have how many people on board. But if it were a large enough group of people who were gone, you would notice.
Oh
The,
yeah.
the captain wouldn't have been like, the captain isn't always in the whatever. He's out checking on people and he doesn't report, oh, there's people, dead. Like there's moments again too where not just again the pipes like you said, and when Remy's in a room and she's like hallucinate, it's like none of it feels real. And New York too. Look, I know it's Canada, but it still doesn't feel fucking real.
No.
It's just like something feels really off about, as much as I love it, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now for Jason Goes to Hell, this does feel very real, and I like the imagination of where they went.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is a lot better than Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's like this movie will have has one of the best endings, despite the kid not, despite the parents being pieces of shit. But
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
it could have been worse. They could have just left him while Jason was alive, but
True.
yeah, that's just insane. If I watch the unrated version, and I see that they're still walking away without that kid, I'm just like, oh, holy shit. It's like, come on, really? Really? But
How much longer is the unrated version than the theatrical? Do you know, Daniel?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll see if I have it. I'll have to pull out the Blu-ray and see if it gives me the option of the alternate version. And I'm gonna pay very close attention to the baby, and that's all I'm gonna pay attention to. I'm not gonna give a shit about the rest of the movie. And I'm just gonna be like, do they take the kid with them? And if they don't, children and youth should have been called on these parents.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Like somebody like when I took my kids to see a movie, like it's like I take them to go see a horror movie. It's a big deal. It's like, listen, it's not as big of a deal as that right there.
Right.
Like I don't leave my kids by themselves, bro. But it's just like I don't really see. That's the thing. Like if you forget about your kid in a plot device, like if your kid's part of the plot in the movie, if they made the baby part of the plot, and then they forget about the baby, it's like, why did we write a baby to begin with?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, because you have you have Pamela's sister, you have Pamela's niece, and then the kid. And it's just like, okay, so they're all three part of the plot. Well, Pamela's sister gets the axe pretty quickly in this movie. Um, she's not the first person killed, mind you, but she does get killed rather quickly. And then the girl, she doesn't get killed. So you're thinking, okay, maybe the baby's going to get the axe. Well, no, the baby doesn't get the axe. The baby just gets forgot about. But it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
We'll forgive them because this movie has a killer ending.
Right.
What? Who's you guys' favorite director in the Friday the 13th franchise so far?
Um, I'm gonna go with Sean Cunningham.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I think Cunningham was very underrated for what he did. And we're all in agreement here. If I had to pick somebody second, I really enjoy Adam Marcus actually's direction in this movie because it's wild and it's fun. But
Yeah, I still don't understand, and I kept thinking, please make it make sense. That whole shaving scene, I didn't know what in the world that was about. I just I kept waiting for Jason to kill him, and I was like, okay, this what was he doing then? So I couldn't figure that one out.
I sort of want, because the bodies are a piece of meat. I'm sort of wondering if he's trying to make the cop look younger, to fool the his sort of fool the Jason going inside. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That is weird though. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, hey, dress to impress or shave to look different
Exactly.
before you murder somebody.
Yeah,
But
I just of all the things I ever thought that I would see Jason doing in a movie, manscaping somebody was not one of them.
Jason Voorhees, hairstylist and shaver.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he
That's
does the ad for the new Gillette razor or something.
bro, I guarantee you they're gonna be, if they ever did do that, there are gonna be calls tomorrow morning. Yeah, Jason was holding a machete shaving the guy's face.
Mhm.
That's our new hey, that's how sharp our new Gillette razor is.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my god, I'm going to hell. Oh my god. But yeah, Jason Goes to Hell is a really interesting movie and really good. What do you guys give this? 1 out of 10.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Very nice. Mark?
Oh, this is going to sound so awful, but I may like it a little bit better when I watch it again. But I hate to be this way, but for right now, I'm going to go 3 out of 10. I didn't have as much fun watching it as you guys did, and like I said, I kept thinking, I actually preferred watching Jason Takes Manhattan over this, but I'll probably watch it, again soon, and I'm sure I'll like it better on the next watch.
It's a long franchise to go through when you go through
Yeah.
this franchise as a whole.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
true.
think to get asked to tie it all in, because that's the thing, when you go into Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Goes to Hell, yes, is the first movie in the new line, but it's also it's the last Friday the 13th. Bullshit. Bullshit. Uh, uh, so I'll give this a solid 7.5. Really entertaining as fuck. Like this, though the story is a bit crazy, I enjoy it for what it is. It's insanity.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know what I mean? The fuck, bro, the FBI being in the middle of the fucking
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a good misdirect for me. I didn't expect that to happen.
this this is why Ralph watches outside the house in case the FBI show up. He's covered for Mark.
Right. Exactly.
The cat's the gunman.
Right.
Oh shit. That's what's funny is my dog outside here saw a deer like go behind the woods. It's barking at the damn thing. It's like running through. And here's the one thing for you both too. We had down the mountain here, going off the mountain. Somebody hit a bobcat.
Oh
Somebody hit,
wow.
somebody hit and killed a young bobcat, and it's like, if the bobcats are moving, holy shit, that ain't good.
Yeah, that's
No.
true.
No.
That ain't good. If the bobcats are actually moving off the mountain, that ain't good.
No. No, it's not.
Like,
Mhm.
and this was young, so you could say maybe it's just the inexperience. But I don't know. I'm sort of raising eyebrows too, because here's the thing: we got snow today. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow here, and
Wow.
it's May. It's like Jesus Christ.
That's
Um,
wild.
it is. It's like the crazy weather. Um, guys, first of all, thank you so much for joining me as always.
Thanks for
It is
having us.
No,
You're welcome.
always.
Yeah,
Dude.
I agree. Oh
It
yeah,
is
yeah. Thanks for having us.
it is a blast. Um, Next week we will do Jason X or Jason in Space, whatever you want to say. Kane Hodder becomes a robot Jason in this movie, and it is badassery.
Yes, it is.
I just wish it would have happened sooner in the movie. That's my only complaint about this movie. And how did they resurrect Jason from hell? We'll try to explain this plot line in the next installment.
That's right.
By the way, they needed John Luke. They should have got John Luke Picard to be the captain of the ship where Jason was coming off.
Oh yeah.
No, or sorry, Patrick Stewart. But
Oh, that would have been great.
that would have been awesome. No, you know who should have been in Jason X? Michael Dorn should have been in Jason X.
Oh, Worf. Yep.
Michael Dorn should have been the one to fight Jason. That would not as Worf, but as a character.
Mhm.
That would have been badass.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that next week, guys. Thank you guys and enjoy the rest of your night.
You
Yep, you
too.
too.
Have a good night.
Have a
Bye.
good
Yep, you
night,
too.
guys. Bye.